Merhaba, Türkiye. Good morning, everybody. My name is
Marc.
Marc Teerlink. I've been for more than 25 years monetizing data, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. I've done this with companies like IBM, with Watson, the world's first artificial intelligence development platform. I've done this with SAP. In the last year, I've been working more and more as an investor, as a coach, as a board member with startups and scale-ups in actually helping them to do green AI or AI for green, or preferably both. One of the most important things I've learned is you can do good and you can be profitable at the same time. And this is really important if you look at the biggest problem we try to solve here. The big problem we're trying to solve is making sure that global warming stays below 1.5 Celsius. That means we all need to cut 4/5 of our footprint. Now, clearly, there's some profitability in it. Otherwise, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink wouldn't have said the next 100 unicorns will be in climate tech, worth at least $1 billion. So knock yourself out, people, I would say. The thing is, though, IT is also the global footprint multiplier. So our CO2 footprint is actually increased by our use of technologies, our 5Gs, our Netflixes, our video conferences. Having the camera on and off is a difference of 96% energy that you actually are drawing from the data center that does the stream. Having a 1-hour video conference equals an 8 or 9 minutes drive in your Prius to the office. So when you're at the office, you might actually want to sit together in one meeting room for one video conference with the people that are remotely. Using your telephone for Netflix, you can really do it in standard mode, right? There's no point to do it in high definition. Your screen is not going to get bigger, but it's going to save 86% of the footprint. Now, within the IT multiplier, it's not just video. Actually, the biggest culprit is becoming AI and cybersecurity. You know, the training of an AI model is the same of me taking every working day, 300 days a year, a flight from New York to San Francisco, or 150 returns, and I'll stay a night over. So the common hardware of cloud service, especially a lot of the existing older cloud providers and data center providers, don't have that GPU power. And we see that exascale computing, the infrastructure of HPC, is becoming more and more the data supply chain. Think about crunching pictures of 7 or 8 terabyte, a combination of layered skin MRIs and CT scans, just for one patient, for one opinion of one cardiologist, right? So the growing need for computational power is there. GPUs are definitely doing it, but they still absorb a lot of energy. We see a larger amount of data, a large amount of data pushes, upload and download. We want to more and more use only on demand. Go to the data center, reserve some data space, reserve some GPU space, do the job and get out again. And those dynamic prices are great, but it's like a car. It's the starting up, you know, that takes the most energy compared to the 30-minute drive. So what good is AI if we cannot use AI for good? Let me repeat it again. What good is AI if we cannot use AI for good? And we need to look to 3 components. One, we try to do good with AI for green. So we try to use artificial intelligence, taking the repetitive numbing steps of a knowledge worker, expert, professional away, and infuse it with AI. And this was, for instance, in microfarming, or this was, for instance, in getting insight in my supply chain. What is the footprint of this bolt from China that I'm now using in my production? And then there's ethical AI. What is the bias in my models? Am I actually deliberately or doing really good with my AI for green? Am I actually greenwashing? Because I'm telling my AI I have great certificates that I have been buying to offset them, but I have no check if those certificates actually do what they do. How do I deal with the values? I mean, if we can't even articulate our values, how will AI know what our values are? And the first is the green AI, that we actually use sustainable technology, sustainable operations, sustainable companies to actually run our AI. Now, the sweet spot is, of course, in the middle of those 3. So let's zoom in. what is AI for green? Or what is it about? First, it's about compliance, the legal part. In 2025, American, European companies must report in their CO2 footprint of their operations, of their IT, of their people, etc. Until 2021, this was the job of marketing. Somebody made a nice slide, put it on the website, see how green we are. And very, very few actually did real good stuff and looked at their sustainability and used that for their branding or their social presentation. But the simulation, how do we solve the problem? How do we measure, decide, and reduce? It wasn't really big, except for a few really, really innovative companies until 2021. And now in 2022, we see companies making really, really serious strides, partly pushed by that regulation, partly pushed by that compliance, but also by the cost saving it does and by it how it differentiates with clients. Well, the current biggest focus is, of course, in your supply chain, your transportation, your manufacturing, and making sure you have less food waste, your precision farming footprint, right? The challenges are, as I already said, greenwashing. How do I know for sure that I'm not deliberately or accidentally frauding in my reporting? The IT footprint. How much was this conference again in video cycles? And where did we buy it? And in which country did we CO2 it? And the employee footprint. It does make a big difference if I bike to the station and take the train to work, or I bike on an electric bike, that I charge at my house with my solar panels, that I join with 3 colleagues in a car, or that I have a diesel that's 22 years old and I fire it up every morning, bring the kids to school, and then go to work. So one of those examples is about automating the tiny details. We all know this feeling, right? We do not want to go in a situation where we basically fill in a diet app, or we take a health app or an exercise app, and every morning I walk this, I did it. This is why we had Fitbits, etc., to capture our walks and our steps. And this is why we basically could use some scanners and do some generic. But after 3-4 weeks, manual labor doesn't work for employees. So how do you capture, like AI does, the tiny repetitive jobs and make sure that the accountant is really actual, right? That means you need to focus on the employee engagement. You need to gamify it. Your department is doing much better than the other departments. And the average salesperson actually is much greener in its customer visit than you are. You have to deal with privacy, but you also have to make sure that small, medium-sized businesses can embrace it, as well larger corporations can put it on their dashboard. So you need to connect with their calculators. So this is what we start doing with EcoShape. Basically take that problem and say, how can we also practice as we preach, work with green coding? The University of Surrey has some phenomenal green coded AI components, work with green suppliers, measure our own footprint, and make an app basically that is scalable and does what AI is meant to do. Let's now focus on green AI. And I already with EcoShaper talked a little bit how we made the company also green in its green AI, but it's about sustainable infrastructure. It's about also probably for a lot of countries, especially the last geopolitical developments, about the geographical sovereignty. It's about a green cloud, which is CO2 neutral or CO2 negative. It's about green coding. C++ needs 1/5 of the cycle time than Java does. Whoa. Some efficient Python libraries are 1/10 of the average parser with Ruby or Perl. So, and that's just the code language. That's not even the efficiency of coding. Green organization. Do we stimulate people to take public transport? Do we have greener food? Do we basically care about CO2 offsetting? How do we practice what we preach in our building, with our people, with our transportation? Do we use green AI-based video compressing that some companies are deploying and others not? But also the employee retention. 67% of Gen Z will change jobs if another employer, even with the same salary, is more responsible, right? They will go to another company if that company is more sustainable. And look at yourself. If you can buy a similar product Would you buy it from the company that basically is polluting the world of your children? Or would you buy it from a company that actually is very responsible and is trying to make this a better world for your children or for yourself, right? Those are the things. Well, the challenges are one, there's so much demand and there's so much limited decarbonization-ready infrastructure. We're going to come there in a second. And people want scalable compute power. I want to upload an incredible large file, I want to process it, and then I'm done. I want to have 48 GPUs for 3 minutes of running my model, and then I'm done. So the good thing is it means that not continuously a data center is idle running on high capacity to be ready when you want it. The bad thing is a lot of pricing and technology models aren't there. Well, things like OpenStack allows you to build your own stack on a server, run your Kubernetes on it, or your Docker. It's not that easy because you have a lot of legacy in this industry, in all the data centers, all the technology, all the CPUs, etc. So like 2 examples are here where they looked at the replacement or removal of CO2 output. Up to 40% of the energy in a data center is just the air-cooled cooling. Upcoming technology is liquid cooling, and because of the current energy crisis we're having, this has rapidly been adopted in the last 6-7 months by the larger players. Think about Lenovo and those kind of things. Example, in the Netherlands, there's a 100 megawatt plus data center called Silver Falcon built in Amsterdam, 3 towers. And one by one, these towers are actually provide their output as city district heating. So the input is going to be wind, the input is going to be green electricity, and their output is basically going to be heating over 100,000 houses through city district heating. This used to be the residual part of a coal central for electricity, for instance. Another example is in Sweden, Green AI Cloud. Green AI Cloud provides decarbonized bioenergy. So a lot of houses are remote. That means there's no gas, there's no supply. So people either get oil or they get a bio-friendly, CO2-friendly processing furnace heater. And they put pellets in it. But to get those pellets ready, right, recycled wood, etc., you need to heat them. You need to dry them out. And again, in Green AI's, the cloud's example, they use their excess heat of their liquid cooling to prepare those pellets. You get actually a negative CO2 AI process there. The third is the ethical part. What is ethical AI about? First, it's about transparency and explainability. Transparency and explainability. Let's go to the first. Who trained my model? If I have a medical model, what is his best 5 cardiologists in this country or 5 residents that were available this week? The other thing is, what was the model trained on? What was the example data was given? Was it clinical trials from the 70s to the 90s and only white men in their 30s? Or was it a more diverse set of clinical trial data sets with more relevant and newer kind of examples? So the second is, who judges if the model runs actually the way it should be? So it's all about governance, and the explainability is, how did you come to the answer? When I worked at SAP, we actually deployed in business technology platform, as it is called today, a component which was the explainability, the best of 5 potential answers, or this is the data that I took via this algorithm to come to this answer. Very, very few clients wanted to implement it because it was more work, created more confusion, and actually what they were indirectly saying, yeah, we don't have the governance. We don't have the governance. And this all falls back to the real big problem that most CXOs have no data know-how, don't understand the difference between correlation and causality, and have no working knowledge of data science and AI. I'm not expecting them to understand how machine learning or Markov models work. I just wanted to understand that when data science makes a model, they toss it over the fence to DevOps, even if you use open source like Terraform, whatever for this, that you have 2 mindsets, one of a causality / correlation kind of approach, and the other of a process flow that needs to run an app. And if those 2 don't work together, integrated, this is going to be your other biggest handover that you have in your governance, accountability, and ownership. Now, where does it really hit you? It hits you financially. It hits you financially in what they call the total accessible market. If your AI model doesn't take the ultimate outcomes, you get fake negatives. Fake negatives means you don't approach clients, or you give the wrong answer to clients, or the wrong offering to clients. In the end, it's costing you money. Now, partly it's because we have one-off models that we put in production, right? As we see in the blue pyramids. One-off models that we put in production, but we forget actually to do explainability on it. Or we have explainable models, but we don't have governance and accountability on it. So when you go to this ethical AI application pyramid, this is really when you focus on governance into action. So bring this home. You got to think holistic. If you just focus on one kind of footprint, the sustainability of my supply chain or my employee footprint, you're missing the point. The second is if you're focusing only to do good with your technology, you know, I'm really helping AI for green, but you're running on your own polluted data center, or your own polluted processes, your own inefficient coding, you're missing the mark. And if you have bias issues, you're actually doing all the things right, but you're not doing the right things. Now, we notice actually that when you look to AI for green and better, the last years we saw companies like IKEA, Tesla, of course, Nike, Toyota, Whole Foods, starting more practicing what they preach. And they used AI to have a better insight in their supply chain, their suppliers, and their process. We also see that using green, and we saw that paying off, by the way. I mean, $1 billion annually in revenue more is a serious amount of money. But the moment you combine it with also having green AI under it, right, we suddenly see that the social responsibility and the communication with your customers helps you to differentiate, and it boosts sales, right? We really see ROI coming back. So in summary, what good is AI if we cannot use AI for good? Let me repeat it once again. What good is artificial intelligence if we cannot use artificial intelligence to do good? Teşekkür ederim. Thank you so much.
Teşekkürler, Marc. Thank you very much for this insightful and enlightening talk. We don't take questions from the audience, but we have 3 more minutes for your slot. So let me ask you a question, if you wish.
Of course.
You covered a lot of ground, Marc. I'm real thankful for this nice talk. And you mentioned 3 pillars for ethical AI and, let's say, useful AI, and the way we should go. We should aspire to reach the level. But what would your concrete advice, if you wish, for companies trying to take the journey that you are describing, trying to be ethical and trying to do the good and right thing? What will the first step nowadays?
So the first step. The first step is of course the compliance part, right? You're going to need to use some AI for green. I took EcoShape as an example, shamelessly, because I'm working with them. It's a phenomenal team. I'm very impressed with the University of Surrey's pre-work, because they have combined a little AI for green and a green AI, the green coding in it, like looking in when you are the procurement person and you have buying new software, new solutions to do that legacy compliance mandatory reporting. If you have 2 products, which one is also based on green AI? Which one has more efficient cycles? Which one uses green service? Which one uses a green data center? And then comes the ethical part, starting with the sovereignty. Everybody who uses Outlook can actually look on their Outlook and see, where do you store my emails? Which country, which service, which location, right? Everybody who uses Google or AWS has these possibilities. It's more deeper way. But most procurement people don't even ask the question. So you'll have to start with AI for green, because you need to do your reporting and you need to get your reporting ready by 2025. If you want to make an impact as a company and you start both the ethical part of your company's behavior as being green, you start with your employees. Gamify, stimulate them, invade them. Look, you can use all kind of data gathering, but the point is get them aware. You will never get all your employees one day on board. So you need to do fun, gamification, respect their privacy, but show on a department level, 30 people or more, how they're doing. How are we all coming to work? There's this rock band we're working with. And the intention is to show next year, how did you come to our concert? And by the way, Amsterdam, you're doing so much better than Copenhagen, or as an example, right? So start with the compliance part, because you have to. Focus on the compliance part. Of course, when you produce goods or sell goods on your supply chain, take your employees directly and focus on your selection of your technology directly on the green AI part. Then step by step, as a CIO, as a CDO, as a CEO, engage in your suppliers, how green they are and what their plans are. And actually, if they can give you the data for your calculator, and that's your driver, if you can get from your IT supplier that this is how green we are, put the data in your calculator, your animal will show you greener, will show more CO2 offset that you're doing, instead of just greenwashing. And ethical AI, it's about governance. And governance is all about one line: data needs a leader. Appoint someone on board level that's responsible for. Those are the 3 advices I would give.
Okay, thank you very much, Marc, again.
It was my pleasure. Teşekkür ederim. Everybody have a great day in Istanbul.